Good morning. You know, something people ask me for, even more often than for fashion advice, is instructions on how to build this coop. Now there's a small problem with that. I do most things freeform, and the only instructions I have are written here in my journal. It doesn't work for most people, but we've got a great opportunity. I just got 5 new baby chicks. We need to build them a new home. So why don't you follow me along as we work on that. Okay, so let's get started. A couple things I need to talk to you about before you start the project is, of course, the cost. Now, as I mentioned in the description, this can be done for $200 or less for this entire coop. Some of the ways we're doing that is we're going to be using reclaimed wood from pallets and so on, and things we have left around. Even if you had to buy everything fresh and new though, you're looking at around $250 probably. Now, what are you going to need to build the coop? Well, you're going to need a power drill and a power saw. It is possible to use a hand saw, but I would highly recommend against this. When you're cutting through your big boards, like the 4x4s, it's just not going to work well. You will need a hammer, a big box of deck screws, and regular interior or exterior screws, both will work, and your painting supplies. It's important to paint these pieces. You want them to last long, and we're going to be submerging some of them in the ground. It's not required, but I recommend it if you want to have this thing for any time over a few years. Okay, so here's the big secret about how to build this coop and how to make it easy and effective for you. Each coop's going to need to be customized for exactly where it's going in your backyard or your property, but we're going to get you through the main steps to make the main structure, access panels, the roof line, so that you can build it on your own once you have some good ideas. The best way to organize the building of your coop is to realize that all the lumber that you're getting from the hardware store, your plywood, your 2x4s, is all going to come at 8 feet long, standard. So we're going to make everything 4x4x4, 4 feet across, 4 feet wide, and 4 feet tall. It should give you plenty of room for your hens, and it's going to use your lumber efficiently. Now, we're going to start today with the base, and that's going to complete part 1 of the video. I've already cut and painted some of this lumber already, as you can see. I'm going to get my last piece cut, paint that up, and then we're going to show you the assembly of the base and talk about its measurements. So I like to use a 2-in-1 stainer and sealer. You usually only need 1 coat. Probably enough. And you want to make sure you're getting something that's waterproof. That's the main thing. Doesn't matter whether you use exterior paint or stain, as long as you're using something that's waterproof. So here we have our painted boards laid out for building our base. The 4x4s are going to be the uprights, the up and down parts. We have 5 45-inch boards and 4 4-foot boards. I'll explain the 5 when we put it together, but basically it's just for a cross member to support the top, which will be OSB particle board that's back there. So we'll go ahead and start getting this assembled so you can see how it's all put together. So we're going to start building our base by putting our 2 4x4s across, up and down, and then our 45-inch boards across. We want to mount these flush to the top edge of both boards. Then we're going to measure 3 feet down, and that will be the bottom of this bottom board. This bottom foot of the 4x4 is going to be buried into the ground when we get this in place. So we get it nice and flush. We're going to tack it down with one screw for now. Just using one because we're going to get this thing all squared up and put together before we tack everything into its final place. Okay. Measure 3 feet down. I didn't say in the intro that you needed a measuring tape. If you don't have one, you should probably be getting help with this project anyway. Good. Lovely. So now that we've got our two sides put together, we're going to be attaching the 4-foot boards on the ends with the sides set facing up. You want to make sure that the boards are on the outside, the 45-inch 2x4s, and the 4x4s are on the inside edge. We're going to line those up. Same way we did with before. The 4-foot boards are going to overlap the other 2x4s on the end, but you want to make sure you attach them to the 4x4 in the middle. Get that lined up. Nice and flush. And with the screw. Still using one screw. Okay. Hit the other side. See, I'm using a warped board here. It's a side effect of using reclaimed lumber. As you can see, we'll get it pretty nice and tight down there once we put everything together. We're going to get the second board attached down here. Screw. See how much we have to adjust these as we mount them, which is why we're only using one screw for right now. All right. We've got all 4 sides tacked down. Now what we need to do is set this thing upright, and we're going to tack 2 of the sides all the way down. Why only 2? Well, 2 of these sides, well, where we're putting this, needs to be covered in chicken wire. Hardware cloth, actually. So we're going to set this up and get the structure nice and strong, and then we're going to actually remove 2 of the sides we tacked down, cover with hardware cloth, and then finish tightening everything down. This is our hardware cloth. It is 1/2-inch hardware cloth. It comes in sheets that are 4 feet wide, so it fits perfectly with our build that we're trying to do. It is probably the most difficult material to work with out of the build. It's wound up on a long loom, and it just doesn't cooperate that easily. Definitely wear hand protection. I'll see how I do. I might roll down my sleeves because it will cut you up a little bit. But also, it's probably going to be the most expensive part of your build. But it's well worth it. It's really going to keep your chicks safe and full-grown chickens safe from predators if you use it correctly. We are going to run it full length of the 4 foot, even past the part that's going in the ground. When we mount this in the ground, we're going to cut it, we're going to bend it out, and it's going to help stop any predators from digging underneath. So what we're going to do is stretch it back. Get it lined up on this edge. Top to bottom. I'm just going to use a staple gun. Okay, now that we've got the hardware cloth tacked down, we've got the boards set back on that we originally had installed in the original holes where they were, with the screws still in the board. Helps you keep your dimensions and keeps things nice and easy. Okay, hopefully if you stretched it tight enough, these are going to be the main support, but after we get it assembled, we are going to go back from behind and tack it in with a few more staples from the staple bed. So I'm going to repeat that process on the other side and show you what it looks like after that. So I finished attaching the chicken wire on 2 sides. Now we need to attach the center board along the middle here. It took me quite some time to get this thing square because of all the boards I mentioned I was working with. So hopefully you're not working with that, but always make sure you measure. Don't do everything just by sight because you might miss it. So now we're going to attach this center support here. It's going to go across so that we can lay the floor. This is going to be the bottom, the floor of the chicken coop where the hens will be staying. And they'll be able to use all this space below as extra living space so you can increase the amount of your footprint. So I'm going to go ahead and screw this in here. Go ahead and attach that down on the other side. Then we're going to cut a 4 foot piece of our OSB roofing board to put on top. Now this is a 3/8 OSB board, usually used for roofing, and it's already marked at 24 and 48 inches for driving your roofing nails. So you just want to find the correct mark, which is this one, 4 feet. It's a little shallow, so we'll just continue that mark out to where we're going to start our cut. It's usually used for roofing, but it's plenty strong for a chicken coop floor. Now, usually, I would have this cut at the hardware store, but that service wasn't available the day I went, so luckily I'm equipped. go, and that's the nice fit we're looking for. I'm going to go ahead and paint the underside of this where it's going to expose to the elements, but the top I'm just going to leave alone. We're going to leave that inside the coop where it won't be touched by the elements. Okay, so here's our completed base. We have the OSB board screwed down on top and our hardware cloth installed on these two sides. It's painted, everything's dried up, and we're ready to install it in the ground. The next step to installing our base is going to be sinking it into the ground. You need to find the spot where you're going to be placing your hen house. We're choosing to place it here adjacent to the existing run. And we need to level out, which we've already done here, a 4x4 square, and then we have to dig down using our post hole digger for the 4x4s we're using to sink 1 foot into the ground. So you're going to want to dig 1 foot down at least. I usually dig a little bit more. The bottom boards that are at the 3 foot mark are actually going to help you level everything out, but you need to get a nice even surface to place it. So I'm going to get this last post hole dug up, and then we'll move the whole base over to this section. We're about to move the base into its final location right behind me. But before we do that, we need to cut this skirt that we've made with the excess hardware cloth and fold it up so we can have clearance to sink these legs into the ground. So I'm using some tin snips here. They work very well. I've got it loose. We're going to actually bend it all the way back on both sides. Like so. Okay, we've got this pretty much positioned where I want it. I'm just going to drag it forward, and hopefully, if I did everything correctly, all 4 legs fall in the holes that I dug for them. Let's see. Boom. Now, I'm gonna need to get it to sink down in there. Use a little bit of force. And then, for any fine adjustments, you can just grab a sledgehammer and kind of get it to sink down. Very good, very good. So here you can see our hardware cloth skirt. We can trim it very closely down there because we don't need that much space, and definitely save any trimmings you get from this stuff. As I mentioned, it's kind of the priciest part of the build, and any little bits are easy to join together and make for screen coverings for your vents when we build the actual hen house itself. This corner we'll also use some of the trimmings, and we'll drive that down with a landscaping staple to keep that nice and tight. So we'll trim this up and bury back in our holes, and then we'll level out the top of our base. All right. So I just finished backfilling the holes, and we're only loosely filling it for now. And here's why. This is not going to go in immediately level. You're going to need to work it. You're going to need to fill some dirt back up in. So you don't want to pack it down before you've done that. So you're going to work this over with a level, keep checking it, and then if you're only filling loosely with dirt, it's very, very easy to get this to move. If you lift up and shake a little bit, you'll find that it stays mostly where you put it, because the dirt's going to fall below and help you get this level. So we're going to work that over, and then after that, you're just going to wet down all the 4 corners with the dirt, let that settle in, and then you're going to do it again once or twice throughout the week to make sure you've got it stabilized. So that's going to finish up part 1 of our Building a Chicken Coop video series. Hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please leave me a like below and subscribe if you want to keep posted for all the next episodes coming out. The next one we're going to do is we're going to build a frame, our frame for the actual hen house, and we're going to place it on this base. If you have any questions, please let me know below. I'm also going to leave links to our affiliate link on Amazon to get any of the products that are available on Amazon for this build. Again, for the lumber, you're going to need to go to your local hardware store. That's not something that you can get. And you also want to look at it. You want to find straight, clean lumber whenever possible. So anyway, hope you are enjoying yourself with this new project of yours, and we'll see you soon.